lost everything now. We only have what we have on our backs.
Everything I worked for the last 2 years, it's all gone in smoke now.
As scary as it is to leave your home, it's not as frustrating as scary as to find that you're trapped.
Well, this is the destruction. Fort McMurray still evacuated and still under the constant threat of fire. Everyone who lives there forced from their homes as crews continue to do their best to stop the flames from spreading. I'm Sandra Batson, and this is CBC Edmonton News. We have a lot of reaction, survival information, and context for you from Fort McMurray tonight. Now, we begin with Briar Stewart. She's in Fort McMurray with a look at the damage and what's happening now.
It's been described as catastrophic, but this afternoon the fire, which has already caused so much devastation, particularly in the city's southwest, continued to grow. Crews even hosed down the fire station and command center on the edge of the city, trying to prevent more destruction.
This is the entranceway to Beacon Hill. It's on the west side of Highway 63, and it was one of the hardest hit neighborhoods. 80% of the homes here were destroyed.
Neil Duffett was one of the last residents to leave Beacon Hill, but this morning got some good news.
I got a call 3:30 this morning saying that it's at least partially standing or intact by some means of God or something, or just good firefighting.
But the fire has been explosive and attempts to contain it have failed.
Morning, everyone.
Alberta's Premier Rachel Notley briefed the public this morning, showing the fire's course and the danger that remains.
So that shows there that the fire has crossed the river and it's possible will wrap around over the course of today, when we expect the weather to change, at which point we are hopeful that the many additional firefighters will be able to begin to make some progress with respect to fighting the fire.
But late today, the evacuation zone expanded. A clear sign that as terrible as yesterday was, officials are stressing this is far from over yet. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Fort McMurray.
All right, about 10,000 people who had to abandon their homes went to stay at work camps just north of Fort McMurray. The CBC's Marion Warnica was there earlier today, and right now she's on the northern edge of the evacuation area. Marion, what's it like there right now?
Well, just in the last couple of minutes while we were waiting to talk to you, the wind has really picked up, and it's coming from a different direction than it was before. It was heading north to south, and it sort of seemed to be pushing the smoke back towards the town. You can see it. It's really picked up in the last couple of minutes. What we know right now about the fire is that there are some intensity building in the area south, the southern tip of the town. We're hearing Airport Road is closed, or Highway 63 is closed at Airport Road, and the airport was closed earlier today. I know that's going to be one of the areas of focus that fire crews are looking at today. They're also looking at this northern flank of the fire. Parsons Creek right here, where cars are being turned away, is actually where we're told the fire jumped the creek last night. So this is something they were looking at as well. They're trying to make sure that homes in neighborhoods near this area stay safe, that they're able to save them. Of course, we know 1,600 structures burned. We don't know exactly how many of those were homes yet. We also know the province has declared a state of emergency, a provincial state of emergency, and they say that's going to allow them to bring in more resources to help fight this thing. As it is now, 88 new firefighters came in overnight. That means we have about 250 firefighters working on this fire right now. In terms of equipment, we have 12 pieces of heavy equipment, 12 helicopters, 2 air tanker groups, and 9 air tankers. That is reassuring to the people who've been evacuated from their homes, who are watching and worrying. We talked to some of them today.
Fire, smoke, and I just made it this close to get my painkillers, but Superstore was closed apparently from the fire.
So this was downtown. You saw the flames out your back door.
Oh, yeah.
You went to try to buy your...
Those people were running, and and I can't run, so I told Wayne, if you're going any place, don't forget me.
We tried to grab our animals. We have a dog and a cat. We got them into our vehicle, and it was just gridlock. There was nowhere to go.
What did you see right after you saw your neighbors with their televisions? What did you see of the fire?
It was the thickest smoke I've ever seen. It was just black. Like, it looked like night. Like, the lights outside were triggering on because it was so dark. So we just ran, basically. At one point, we thought we were just going to have to grab the cat, the dog, and run and leave our vehicles because the fire was right behind us.
Tens of thousands of people evacuating in those kinds of circumstances without any casualties, without any major injuries. They're hoping that they can keep that record going, and that is why they are turning people away right now. They don't want them heading towards those flames, which could be gathering in intensity even as we speak. Sandra?
Wow. Okay, Marion, thank you so much for some good information there. The CBC's Marion Warnica reporting live tonight just outside of Fort McMurray. Well, thousands of evacuees have also come south to our city. Many are staying at Northlands, where they're trying to figure out what happens next. Our Min Dhariwal talked to some people there.
When we were driving through the city, it was like watching a horror movie because the fire was so close to the roads. It was like lava going straight down the roads.
Yeah. When we were trapped downtown, I didn't think I was getting out. We need out fast.
It's okay, honey.
We're losing our homes up there. I gotta go.
Things were so scary out there, and with the fires going out everywhere while we were coming from downtown, it was just unimaginable what we saw. It's not just one portion that was burning. It was just not containable at all.
Being down here and kind of being in touch and contact with everyone, who's near and dear to me, and knowing that they're out and stuff, and them knowing that I'm out too, I'm happy to be out of there now. That being said, at the same time, that is my home up there, and to know that it's kind of on fire right now, it's not a good feeling,
Oh, the folks inside are wonderful. They've been very accommodating and very kind to us. It's wonderful that they have these services set up for folks like us, that we left home. We don't have very much with us, and we're really glad that there's a place here for us to stay.
Very emotional for people there. Well, the situation is so bad that Alberta has declared a provincial state of emergency. Premier Rachel Notley landed in Fort McMurray this afternoon, and here's some of what she had to say before she left.
And I want to begin by thanking the men and women who are working around the clock to fight this fire and to keep people safe. Overnight and through this morning, we've heard so many stories of the many ways that Albertans are helping Albertans. People are reaching out to provide support and assistance throughout the province. Our province is strong, and we will get through this. Albertans have proven time and time again that when disaster strikes, we come together and we find the solutions and we get through it. McMurray are no different. They are a strong and resilient and focused group of people, and I know that ultimately the community of Fort McMurray will come out of this much stronger.
Well, people from all over Canada are coming forward to help, and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau had some words for the people of Fort McMurray.
While the full extent of the damage isn't yet known, we certainly do know that for those who've been affected, this fire is absolutely devastating. It's a loss on a scale that is hard for many of us to imagine. I want to say to the residents of Fort McMurray, Canadians are with you. Our thoughts are with you. Our prayers are with you. As Prime Minister, I want you to know that our government and all Canadians will stand by you and support you now and when it is time to rebuild. Last night, I spoke with Premier Notley and assured her that we would do all that we can to help the people of Fort McMurray in the days, weeks, and months to come.
Well, Canada's Defence Minister says the Department of National Defence would make all resources available. They're sending crews, helicopters, and this morning a plane took off from Canadian Forces Base Trenton in Ontario to help.
So this started last night, basically watching the traffic. We got the call and we decided to put crews and aircraft on 2 hours notice to move that we achieved by this morning. And then around 8:30 we got a call to start pre-positioning assets into Alberta to be ready, just in case they're needed.
So what are you sending?
Right now we're sending one C-130J Hercules. We've also got a C-17 and an Airbus on standby as well to move if required. This is an airplane that if required could move probably 150, 200 people, in an emergency situation. 30, 40,000 pounds of cargo. It will move stuff and it will move stuff rapidly, so it's a great asset.
Well, the weather could also help the situation, and right now in Fort McMurray, the weather is everything. Everyone is hoping for cooler, calmer temperatures. Here's meteorologist Joanna Wagstaff with what we can expect.
Well, fire weather conditions for all of Alberta will be changing in the next 24 hours, getting worse, though, before they get better. Take a look at today's fire danger map. Almost all of Alberta at extreme, meaning fires like Fort McMurray are hard to control, and new fires can start and become explosive very quickly. On top of the flames, also watching the smoke. The general airflow has been carrying that plume across to Saskatchewan, although air quality is bad across much of eastern Alberta. Special weather statement has been in place for 2 days now. The cold front, though, will change the situation. Right now, tracking across Alberta as we head into the overnight hours, that is going to bring shifting winds from Fort McMurray all the way down to southern Alberta. Shifting and strong winds before we can get into some cooler temperatures. So let me time this out for you. Starting off with a look at the temperatures today. These were the peak afternoon highs. 31 plus degrees in through Fort McMurray, actually warmer in the north and down towards Edmonton and Calgary thanks to that southerly flow. But this pocket of warm air is tracking eastward. Again, we'll get the windiest conditions along that boundary, but there is some cooler air coming just for a one-day shot, though. As I time this out for you, notice these winds get very gusty through the overnight and Thursday morning hours. We'll see some cloud cover and showers down through the southern parts of the province. That should ease fire danger for the southern half of Alberta. But watch as I take you through the end of the week. In through Friday, yet another high pressure ridge builds in. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, looking at very hot and dry conditions once again. It won't take long for fire danger to build across the province. So really just a 1 day of relief, and we have to get through that cold front tonight first.
All right, people all across Canada are offering help for the Fort McMurray evacuees, and the government of Alberta is matching donations made to the Red Cross. Well, Jen McManus is the Red Cross's Vice President for Alberta and Northwest Territories, and she joins me now live from Calgary. Thanks for joining us. Can you tell us what is the Red Cross doing to help right now?
Well, right now we have personnel in stock activated in the city of Edmonton area, assisting with the reception and congregate shelter in the Northland location. We also are deploying volunteers and stock to Lac-La-Biche to support the close to 10,000 evacuees that are in Lac-La-Biche, and we are coordinating with the Provincial Operations Centre looking at emerging needs, and I have pre-positioned stock and staff and volunteers at the ready to go.
All right, a lot of work going on there. The Premier says this is the worst fire situation that we've ever experienced. How do you deal with a trauma of this magnitude?
Well, it's been a difficult couple of years in Alberta, given the floods of 2013 and now this event, and not even to mention or forget the Slave Lake fires of 2011. It's communities coming together, and the Executive Director of Alberta Health Services spoke alongside of Premier Notley, talking about supports to those who've been impacted by the evacuations and the fires in the Fort McMurray area. And really it's going to be a collective recovery with lots of agencies and expertise on the ground to support Fort McMurray residents.
Well, so many people are watching the coverage, have been touched by this personally. What can people do to help if they want to help?
Well, right now the Red Cross, as you mentioned, the Red Cross is on financial appeal for donations to redcross.ca. We activated our appeal late yesterday afternoon upon the mandatory evacuation notice of Fort McMurray. the generosity of Canadians in the past and even for this appeal fund has been tremendous. So really a financial donation at this time for the Red Cross is the best way for us to operationalize and get into communities the assets and the resources that are required. And then it's being patient and looking after each other. It's really important that community members stick together and we be patient as Albertans, because this is the sprint. There's a marathon ahead for all of us.
Now, you know, we really should mention that in crisis situations like this, we often hear about fraud and people asking for fake donations. How can people be sure that their money is going to the right place?
Well, first and foremost, people need to be really careful of the digital environment in which they are putting in their personal information and their financial information, credit cards. So we're asking that people double check that they're on the right website with regards to redcross.ca. And crowdsourcing is a challenge. Crowdsourcing funding is a challenge. So really, you know, have your wits about you and be paying attention to what you're giving to and who you're giving to. And, you know, share with family and friends your experience. If something is really positive, share it. And if something negative happens, make sure that people don't make the same mistake.
All right, a lot of good information there. Jen McManus is the Red Cross's Vice President for Alberta and Northwest Territories, and she joined us live from Calgary.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, another fire is threatening homes in our province. Those flames are west of our city on the Alexis Nakota Sioux Nation Reserve. Now, this video was shot moments ago by our Travis McEwen. The fire is threatening the reserve as well as the hamlet of Glen Evis. The hamlet is now under a mandatory evacuation order. Those on Alexis First Nation should remain in the town where there is an evacuation center. In the meantime, people are advised to close doors, windows, and vents, and as always, to follow directions from local authorities. Well, there are so many emotional stories of people escaping the flames in Fort McMurray. We talked to one man who got out with his family, and he's here live in studio. That's next. Well, we are hearing terrifying stories of what it was like when people in Fort McMurray escaped the flames, and now for the 88,000 people forced to flee their homes, there's not much they can do other than wait. Well, Ainsworth Wisdom lives in Fort McMurray, and he left last night with his family as well. Thank you so much for joining us in studio today.
Thank you very, very much for having me.
Well, Ainsworth, tell me, what was the situation when you had to leave your home?
You know what, things unfolded real quickly. It was a matter of minutes, it seems like, that we had to leave. And initially it was voluntary, and then it was, no, you gotta go. And it seemed as if everyone got the news at the same time. So it was a ride that should take 5 minutes. Took us about 2 hours. Every single gas station was inundated with traffic and persons just scurrying, trying to get some fuel to head north or south.
Well, let's talk about that. What did you see on that highway out of town?
Initially, we were told that the southbound traffic on Highway 63 was closed, so everything was heading north. So our initial intent was to head north. When we recognized that that was not happening, and at one point the traffic that was behind us, we saw them heading onto the banks, so it seemed as if the fire was closing in. So persons, I understand that the police was instructing individuals to move forward because of what was coming. But we got news now that south, they managed to open up south, and the devastation that I saw, I couldn't believe it, because you hear the stories and stuff, and it's like, nah, that's not possible. And as soon as we started heading south, and for persons who are familiar with Fort Mac, if you're on Highway 63, just past Hospital Street, the flames was pretty much right down on the highway at this point. Homes were already inundated with flames. The fire did come over onto the other side of the road. That's even something that we can't fathom either, but it did happen. So waterways, for persons again who know Fort Mac, by the time we were heading out, was completely buried.
Well, we have seen those pictures, you know, those dramatic pictures of flames right beside the highway. What was going through your mind when you saw that?
I hope everyone gets out safe, and I think the same sentiments were being echoed just by everyone. Constant texting, and that's the beauty about social media. Everyone was trying to stay in touch, and as soon as one went through, hey, are you through yet? No, we're going through now, and that type of communication. And I think it really shows the type of community that we are fortunate to have. Diverse, but persons who really, really love each other, and persons who really care for each other. You asked me a question offset, and I said emphatically, yes, I'm going back, because I got to. That's home for me. Fort Mac is home. Fort McMurray is home.
Well, you did tell me that that is home and that you are going back. What do you know about your home and your belongings right now? Have you heard anything?
I have not received any update today, no new information. The last thing I got sometime at about 2 a.m. this morning on our way down was that there were 2 homes. I live in Dickinsfield, and there were 2 homes that got destroyed. I'm not certain if that's mine. My best friend who lives in Wood Buffalo, I understand that a large section of that community was also affected as well. I have other friends and families being a part of the Jamaican community there as well. I know that most of them, in fact all of them, were able to head out and are currently residing temporarily in Edmonton.
Right, and you mentioned to me that you are staying with friends. You have some kids as well, 3 kids. How are your kids faring through all of this drama?
It's been very traumatic. My wife actually made an effort not to tell our eldest son that his best friend, their entire home was lost. They live in Abasan. That's one of the community that was devastated, and my wife spoke to them earlier. They were actually stranded on the road. 2 dogs, 2 young kids trying to get head south. So it's been traumatic. I think the younger ones, I don't think they understand how serious it is. So this is like a little vacation for them, it feels like. But I think the older ones and kids in general, I think they get a sense that this is not a fire drill. This is something that is very, very serious, and it's going to take a lot of work and effort to get this city back up and running again.
Well, Ainsworth, we wish you the best of luck. We thank you so much for coming here today to share a little bit of your story with us.
Thank you.
Ainsworth Wisdom lives in Fort McMurray, and his family left the city in the evacuation last night. The regional municipality of Wood Buffalo wants to hear from all of the people forced from their homes in Fort McMurray. Now, this is some important information here. The municipality tweeted to ask all evacuated residents to email wildfire at rmwb.ca with their name, location, and confirmation of safety. The Red Cross is also helping families who may have been separated during the evacuations. It's a number for the Red Cross and family reunification. That number is 1-888-350-6070. And we are constantly updating information about the fires on our website. That's at cbc.ca/Edmonton. Now, your next television newscast is at 11 o'clock tonight, and we'll see you then. We leave you now with one last look at the devastation in Fort McMurray. Have a good night.